Hello, Julien. Hello, Constantina. So I am here today with Julien Mevel. For those of you who don't know who is Julien, um, um, let me tell you and be honest, I didn't know about Julien until 3 months ago when I met him to a networking event. And I was so surprised and so shocked that when I heard his story, actually, when I realized that he did such amazing thing, let's say, organized and did it in Cyprus, and most of people didn't hear and didn't know about it. So, but before going through about that, because I will let Julian to say what was his purpose and what actually he did. I think he will do it better than me. I want to tell you what's the purpose of this interview. I want Julian's story to inspire not only entrepreneurs, because all of us, we can do something more for the society. To be honest, I want Julian's story to inspire young people. I have a son, he's 15 years old, and I will be very proud if after a few years he will think and act as Julian. So this is the main reason I want Julian action to be heard and known. And after welcoming Julian, I want him to tell us what he did in 2022 and what was the reason behind it. The mic to you, Julian.
All right, okay. So thank you. Thank you so much, first of all, for having me. It's a pleasure to exchange a bit of this experience with you. The first thing I would like to say is that even if it was a very demanding adventure for me on the personal level and on the collective level, because this was a collective adventure, I want to say that I don't want to take too much credit from that adventure. I mean, I'm proud of what I did, of course, but the charity I helped during this event is on the ground every single day of the year to help people out. So I'm really proud of them and I admire them very much. What I did was good, definitely, but to actually be here every single day of the year to help others fight against discriminations, for me, they should get the credit for all of that, even more than me. I wanted to say that the charity is called Generation for Change Cyprus. They're doing an amazing job. And what I mean to say here is that its members are at least as, or much more, should be the recipient of all credit for this project. And they help me so much throughout the project. I wanted to say that because, this project was very personal, like we can go through that. It was many motivations behind this, and we can talk about it. But
can you just tell us, so for the audience to know what you actually, what was the event actually?
Yes. So basically, the idea was pretty simple. We are living on an island, a beautiful island, Cyprus, and I was thinking that maybe nobody or very few people have been swimming around the island, all around the island. When I say all around the island, I'm talking unfortunately only of the Greek side, the free side. Maybe one day it will be a project for the whole unified country. We will see. But the project was basically to swim from the north side of Cyprus, Pomos, northwest, let's say, all the way to Larnaca in Ikudes. So that was about 330 or 40 kilometers, which I split over the course of 23 or 24 days of swimming. So every day I would be in the sea for between 5 and 7 hours. My best friend was with me in the van. I was sleeping in the van at night. And we were doing this for about a month in April 2022. We started on 2nd of April. We ended on the 30th of April, 2022.
It's very, how to say, I am an entrepreneur. So you've been away from your business for almost a month. You're living on a let's say a truck, and you are swimming for so many hours. I don't want to think of the tiredness. I don't want to think of how of the effort. I just want to focus that you dedicated almost a month for a purpose,
Yeah.
which is amazing. I mean, I don't know if anybody else will not see it in this way. I mean, just simply amazing.
Yeah, thank you for that. But also, you know, I was privileged in the sense that, okay, I'm not a millionaire sitting on a ton of money and I could afford that, not at all. But my business is relatively not materialized, so I could work a bit in the afternoon. And yeah, I guess, you know, it's a matter of circumstances. Like not everyone can afford to take this month. So that I owe a lot, and I'm very grateful for my family that supported me, for my business partners that knew I was doing this challenge. I mean, nothing was hidden from them. But and I think, you know, at some point I was scared of their reaction. Like I'm working with some factories and helping them to export their production. But I had only excellent reaction from my partners because I think in every one of us there is this dreamy part and this ambition. And when somebody lives his or her dream, it's like a proxy. And nobody blamed me for taking this month, let's say, off that I was working very little compared to usually. Because I think they saw in me somebody who was achieving something bigger than the usual routine daily business. And I think that's how I didn't get any negative remark from my colleagues, from my partners. So yeah, it's also thanks to them and thanks to the tolerance of all this environment that I was able to do that.
So let me, I just want to understand more about what was the motivation behind, let's say, this event. Okay, I understood that you wanted to help this association, let's say, and I can understand why. Myself, I do some stuff also for those people, let's say. However, what was, let's say, for Julien, this this event?
Yeah, so the charity part was definitely a big motivation because since I'm quite young, I went to China when I was 16 and I was lucky enough to go there because I studied Chinese. So I was confronted to, let's say, misery, poverty, because back then China was not as developed as today. When I was, 16, so it has always left a mark in me to say, okay, make things relative in life. I mean, we have problems in Europe, we have a lot of problems, but everything is relative. And I always had the feeling of almost guiltiness of living in a wealthy enough country and everything. So that was one big motivation to at least try to do a little bit of contribution towards less favored people. Another one, I have to be very honest, it's about the ego. I think that I'm a bit of a dreamer. Like you are in the tennis world. I wanted to win Roland Garros, which so far hasn't happened. We never know. Maybe it will. But it's not very realistic, you know. And I wanted to do something big, but at my level. And what could I do that would, I think the ego is a big part here to put a bit of light on myself. I think we all have that. And I'm very
nice. Something challenging ourselves, it shows character. And by me, it is okay to understand, of course, we all have our ego and we want to prove to ourselves that we can do certain things. So yeah, I completely admire you for I mean, to me sound amazing. And I was thinking, all right, okay, the first day I can understand someone might, let's say, be okay swimming for 5, 6, 7 hours. The second day, okay, but as the days were adding, I'm pretty sure that the tiredness started to kick in. And how did you handle yourself? Let's say how did you handle, let's say, when you were tired?
I think, well, that's a very good point because for me, one of the challenges in this was regularity. I was the kind of guy that could go and decide. I did the marathon of Paris. You know, I decided to do it. I trained maybe 3 times in 2 months that were before the marathon, and I did it. I know I have a good mentor, but I'm not a very physical athlete. Like when I train with friends here, I'm very far from being the best, very far from that. So I wanted to challenge myself in terms of regularity. Like for me, it's always been more difficult to wake up every morning and walk, let's say 5 kilometers, rather than say, okay, in 2 months, I will run 100 kilometers. So this regularity thing of waking up early, getting your things ready. I had a small inflatable paddle following me with stuff on it, getting everything ready, being physically okay to start at the same time in the morning, checking the wind, checking the meteo, putting yourself in the water, preparing the snacks, you know, all these routine for me was a huge challenge to stick to it for consecutively 25 to 30 days. So that was a big challenge for me. And that's one of the things I'm proud of, that I did succeed to do that, even though after that, I fall into the same trap again of not being very regular guy, more up and down all the time. But how I handled being tired, I don't really struggle against that. I have learned in my experience in sport that you have to welcome this feeling. And basically, you know, in marathon, you have the wall. We say at 30 kilometers, you want to die and you want to finish. But if you do accept that it's difficult and you almost manage to enjoy this phase, knowing that it's not finished because our capacity are always way more than we think the limit is, then you're going to be okay. You just have to accept, and you don't have to struggle the first minute you have a symptom, a pain, or a sign. You have to accept it and remain humble, wait a bit, and things will come back. We are a little bit trained as human to say, okay, I have one symptom, I stop. But there's a lot of literature that shows that we can go way beyond the first symptoms of tiredness, of pain. And that's what I had in mind when it was difficult.
Oh my God. Look, I was never, let's say, an athlete, although I'm watching my son and he's training very hard.
Yeah.
He's trying to become a pro, so I can understand the challenges. I can understand what tiredness mean. It was very difficult for me to watch him for 3 hours running in a court, let's say, for 3 hours continuously. So I can understand the challenges, and but I can't say that I can understand. I've never been through, let's say, such challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it will be, let's say, my next challenge to to test my body to see how much I can push it, how much I can resist. You know what I really want to ask? What are you most proud of? Is this one of the things that was, let's say, the most challenging thing on your life, or there is something that, let's say, was even more challenging than this?
No, I think that was, yeah, physically, definitely, it was the biggest challenge of my life. As I mentioned, the regularity was a big thing, and I was really happy to finish. I mean, I didn't mind if it would have lasted for longer or whatever, but I did want to finish. That was for sure. And looking backwards, one thing I'm quite proud of would be you know, I was inspired by a friend. Maybe we'll come back to that. But this friend is followed by thousands of big community, you know, and he always says if one of these person has an impact and is somehow touched by the action and for his own life or her own life decides to take a new action, a new decision, that's enough. And after the tour, there was a few conferences that I gave in schools. And when you look at I mean, it's very common to say that, but it's so true. Like you look at the kids with big eyes listening to you. The teacher were telling me, usually they are not so interested in these conference things, but they were captivated because I think you are talking to this part of our brain and this part of our being that is dreaming. And everybody, deep or not, has a big dream. And to have had this exchange after the challenge with adults or kids and the youth that you mentioned before, you know, if one of these 100 of kids decide for themselves that they decide to go and walk or make a charity action or whatever, or something for themselves, that I will be very proud of.
I really hope that um, youngs will listen to your story and will get inspired. And you know something, I want to talk about fear. What was your biggest fear from this event? Because I don't believe that you were always so positive or was no fear about anything. And I, I, I want to know, let's say, what were you fearing?
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. It was not, I think it's very healthy and highly necessary to be scared actually when you do something like that, because it's your compass. Like if you have no fear, no, I mean, some guys will tell you, I don't fear anything. I'm not afraid, but I think this for me, adventure doesn't rhyme with being fearless. It rhymes with being aware of the danger and trying to control it. What I did was not extremely dangerous, let's face it. Like the guy who inspired me is a guy who did kayaking from San Francisco to Hawaii, you know, that was dangerous. Nobody supporting me, dangerous. What I did had its bit of danger, but it was not that extreme. But yeah, there were moments that they were dangerous, and that gives you the opportunity to be so connected with yourself, because I was alone as well, that in that moment you feel two feelings. You feel the fear, and you feel also the uniqueness of I am by myself, and for once I don't have my phone, my car, my friends, my whoever. I have to count on myself. And in our society, this uncertainty level is very low because we have insurances, we have friends, we have, you know, doctors, everything is following us. And these moments are very rare. So I was also enjoying and very scared at the same time. To answer your question, there were, I would say, three moments that were difficult for me. The first one was in Akamas, because when you pass a cave, even if Cyprus is not tropical or whatever, everything changes. The current, the wind, you know, the swirl, everything is changing. So you are on this very beautiful place in the Blue Lagoon near after Lachi. And then suddenly you pass the cape and it's another world. The waves are huge and the wind, and you are alone. And in Akamas, it's so beautiful. That's the beauty of it. There is nobody. So on the beach and on the land, I couldn't see anyone for kilometers and kilometers. So that was a bit scary. And it's also the first time I actually hit a rock. I don't know, there was lots of waves and I enjoyed myself a little bit. So there were still 10 or 12 kilometers to go, and I started to be a bit afraid I wouldn't make it, but that was okay. The second time was the Cape in Paphos, the same story, like the minute you pass towards Yeroskipu and you come from Paphos city, everything changes, and that day was a difficult day. I wasn't that scared because I wasn't far from the coast that time, and the wind was favorable. It was pushing me towards the beach. The highest fear I had was around Akrotiri Cape. I was notified by the British bases that I couldn't put my foot on the base because there was military exercises. So in case of problem, okay, I had to do it anyway. But psychologically, not to know that you're not allowed to go on shore is a bit special. And that was the longest stage as well. It was from, and I didn't swim all the way, by the way. I had my paddle, and at some point I had to be on the paddle. So it was almost 30 kilometers from Kourion all the way to Ladies Mile. And I was so tired, and the wind at some point was totally against me on the last, I would say, 5 kilometers going back to Ladies Mile. And I was scared that the wind would actually take me away towards, Larnaca and the seaside. And I thought, okay, what do I do if this happens? Do I wait and let the wind take me until somebody notices me? Or do I struggle to put my foot on land on the base, even though I'm not allowed to do that? And that's what I did, actually. But it took me like maybe, I would say, 1 hour to do literally less than 500 meters to come back on the shore. So I was scared and I was drained when I put my foot on land. And this soldier came to me 1 minute after I came, and I couldn't care less that I was illegal because I was saved and alive. And the guy was nice, actually. After that, he let me exit the base, walk into the ladies' mile for the last 2 kilometers or so, and that was okay. But that was a bit scary. And after that, it was smooth all the way to Larnaca.
My God, it's so when you hear it, and it's scary. I am trying to imagine how were you feeling when you are tired, you know, and you are exhausted actually, and you don't know what to do, and you know, and your life is in danger, and you have to take a decision and take a risk.
Yeah, it was a special moment.
Yep. Right. What advice do you have? Any advice to young people in Cyprus, or let's not limit to Cyprus, generally to young people?
It's a big word and a big responsibility to give advice to all of them because they are very diverse. All these young people. I have little sisters who are so much younger than me. They're like in their 20s. And I have a lot of cousins and godsons. And so, yes, I like to look towards this generation that is so different. And I have two sons myself who are definitely not living the life we used to have, even though we are not that old. But, you know, with all the screens and all the Facebook and all the social networks and stuff like that, there's been a shift in the priority, in the center of their days, of their lives. And I don't think we can go against that, but I think we have to try and control it and keep their eyes open on what else exists besides all the screen and the Facebook and all that things. So my advice would be very, very simple. It would be to be curious and to be adventurous in the sense of not saying no to something, but saying yes, trying something, even if you don't like it at first. Try things because it's so hard to know who you are. It's so nice. It's so hard to know what you really like. So yeah, to my son, that's what I say. Be daring, be, you know, ambitious and try and make mistakes, and it doesn't matter because it's better to try lots of stuff and make lots of mistakes than just being very shy and staying behind your screen and not seeing the world. So I would say, yeah, go over there. It's not that dangerous out there. Most people are really nice. 99% of people are adorable. So don't fear too much. Take your backpack, travel the world, see what's happening. I guess that would be my advice.
Now that I'm really, I don't know how to say, not stressed. I'm anxious, to be honest, what this metaverse will bring to the new generation. And you know, I can see that. Okay, my son is 15, but they communicate only through electronic devices, and they communicate only through, and they don't actually really meet as we used to meet our friends, let's say. They have most of virtual friends, and you know, I'm lucky that my son is in sports, let's say, and he's fighting for something. But most of the kids, as I can see, they limit themselves to being in front of a screen, and you know, became like almost robots. I'm honest. So let's hope that kids will get more curious, or at least wanted to try things out, you know, and hopefully they will, you know, one of the reason I wanted to do a visual, let's say, interview is that I know that most of the kids are on YouTube, so it will be posted there. So hopefully they will get to see it and learn some things and be curious at least, or wanted to do something for a higher purpose than, you know, just doing stuff for ourselves.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say as well. Like, it's not black and white. Like, the screens are not by definition a bad thing. I mean, there are also lots of opportunities in accessing knowledge, when I speak of curiosity. In the 90s, you couldn't, in one split second, know what's going on in Finland or what's going on in China. And, you know, now you can. So it's also an opportunity. It's just a matter of putting some limits to it and making sure the content of what they are. So everybody looks at stupid things, me first, you know, in YouTube or whatever. But you just need to be sure that a certain percentage of that is not totally stupid and good enough for them to at least open a door in their mind and in the culture as well.
Julian, I want to ask you, how would you like remembered about? Will you, I mean, will you want to be, let's say, the guy that swim around Cyprus for a higher purpose? What is that? Or you already have, let's say, some other dreams, some other goals, or you will take some time to.
It's a big question again. I mean, I think, yeah, definitely the bigger thing behind the Cyprus Swim Tour is all about, okay, the preciousness of life. Very simple. It's like we all say it from time to time. We all say it when we have somebody close to us who is dying or sick, because we have this sudden realization. But the value we put in life and the realization, the daily realization of that is a gift. So for me, the Cyberstream 2 is just the materialization of that idea. It's like, okay, I am also able, with a lot of obstacles, but I am able, I have the capacity in me to do something that is a little bit original, that and that might give some pleasure to others as well. And yeah, if I'm remembered as a person who was constantly questioning life and what can we do to make it funnier, and not forget how funny life can be and interesting and you know, enrich, that would be a good first good thing to remember. My motto.
Great. So as closing it, what is one message that you will want to give to the world? If one message.
I think, you know, I had an interesting conversation before the swim tour with the manager of this charity, and I was telling him how I'm going to do this project, but at the end of the day, this is like a drop in the ocean. And he told me, you know, I don't care if it's a drop in the ocean. I don't care for the reason and the motivation you're doing it. What matters is that you're doing it. And I liked it, his answer, and I stopped torturing my mind to say, okay, but maybe I'm doing this for the ego and I'm doing this for the wrong reasons, etc., etc. So the message is very simple. It's like if you doubt, if you have a doubt about the reason behind, it doesn't matter. If you feel inspired enough to do something, just go and do it, regardless of the judgment, regardless of your own fear. It doesn't mean you shouldn't be prepared because, as my friend Cyril says, adventure requires a lot of preparation. But just dare to do things and do your tiny part, even if you feel it's tiny. It's never so tiny. I mean, every single minute or message matters. Because if we all do this little part, I mean, there's no way the world is going to collapse, you know? I believe that. I mean, I'm pathologically optimistic. So I think if we all do a tiny part, at the end, it can only be okay. It sounds a bit like Miss France, what I'm saying that now, but no, I believe that. Do your part, basically. Do your little part.
Julien, I'm so impressed and so touched by what I heard. And I just hope that many people will watch this interview, short interview. I wish you all the best. And I hope that you will not stop here because you do have the power to inspire. And I believe that, you know, if people are watching some other people taking action, doing something, at the end of the day, more people will take action. So yes, it does matter what all of us if we do our part, let's say. So thank you so much for your time for this interview. And I wish you all the best and all your goals to be achieved and whatever you wish. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for having me, and take care.